one of the biggest things we were confident in coming back to Hawaii and starting this business from scratch was our core team of founders. We were 4 friends from high school, all who studied very different things. Matt studied molecular biology at UC Santa Cruz. I was doing business in Boston, Luke here at UH, Galen at Stanford doing business engineering, and yeah, although we had never started a business venture together, we had gone on a lot of adventures together, and yeah, we were just confident that we'd have the persistence and kind of capacity to make things work. So from the very beginning, when it was us 4 sitting in a food truck for 6 months for at least like 12 to 14 hours a day, our philosophy for building a team was we want to choose people who we want to be around with and hang out with ultimately, because that's what kept us there. And that's definitely changed. Now Banan is, just within the last month or so, it's been a huge growth month for the company, and we now have over just about 35 employees that we staff between 2 locations. And I would say we're still pretty careful about who we choose as well. We've had over 100 applicants to just this single location, and we really definitely make it a point to get to know who we're hiring before we take them on the team, in terms of getting to know their hobbies, interests, and just what they're all about.
So it's probably the most important thing when you try to scale a business beyond yourself. So if you can start a company and it's just you and you can just run it by yourself, fine, you don't even have to think about that stuff, and other things become a lot more important. But when you try to scale a business, the team is the number one thing. You can't always be there, you can't always be the one thinking of everything. So I think for me, the people that I've hired who have stuck with the company and who have excelled in the company are people who have 100% passion around what we're doing. And they come in and they are just so stoked. But at the same time, they're also people who generally in life are just very positive, very proactive, holistic type people who see the big picture and understand like emotional intelligence and how they can sort of interact with other people and build a team and do things together. The folks that have not necessarily panned out have been the ones that are tend to be a little bit more on the negative side in their own personal lives. And it resonates once they come on board in your company. It definitely starts to play out in ways that you wouldn't ever anticipate. So I'd say especially for social entrepreneurs, finding people who are 100% passionate about what you're doing, number one thing. But also you need people who are very practical. There are people who are very much just, yay! But then when it comes to actually getting work done, you need people who are very practical, who are organized. So I like to look at writing samples. I think that's a very interesting way to kind of see what the person is passionate about and how they organize their thinking around it. And if it's a lot of hand-wavy, we need to do all these things and the world is crazy and all that kind of stuff, that's not necessarily good. I love to see that sort of passion, but there's got to be that balance.
I am a big proponent of giving a lot of freedom, a lot of responsibilities to people. I think the job of any manager or supervisor is to groom their team so that they can replace them. And that's my core philosophy on that. Now, I think one of the mistakes that I make in general is not following up enough with the team and giving a little bit more freedom or a little bit too much freedom. And some people can handle it, some people can't, and you know, it's just part of managing. But I tend to be very hands-off and only come in when needed. And so when I do come in, it's always kind of some issue or something like that. So then that creates you know, friction. But in general, I think that it works out. I think that you know, that for me, that's how I like to manage the team.
Yeah, so in terms of our actually the initial team was myself and my business partner. And then we had a third business partner who was actually my ex-boyfriend. And he was my ex-boyfriend when we were starting the business. So it wasn't a boyfriend turned ex, it was an ex-boyfriend. But we were pretty good friends. I'd say in terms of building the team, I wish we had built out our team more. It ended up just being my business partner and myself. And we would kind of bring in different contract workers. So whether we had a team in France that was building our Android app, we had like a paid guy who was, building out some of our design stuff. We had a huge lesson learned what not to do. We ended up getting a PR person, which was just totally insane, paying thousands of dollars a month for a PR person, which was just so dumb. There's no reason why a founder can't do some of the stuff, especially really early on in the company. That was like a lot of money wasted. It was a lot of money wasted because we weren't ready for it. There was no need. We needed to, there are a lot of things that we could get on our own. And I think if you've got only a certain amount of money to spend, you should be spending it on the product, on customer acquisition, all the key things that are gonna make your company really, really work, versus trying to get some media hype, which you could get most of that yourself if you work hard enough.
So yeah, building the team is super important, and it's probably been a challenge that I've had. So we've been in operation for about a little over 5 years now, and really at this point, and a big part of it too was moving into the new warehouse, having the right infrastructure to work out of, but really working on building up the team. Where for the longest time, it's been a lot of the responsibility and accountability on myself alone, and trying to figure out how do you bring in people that you can pay appropriately and take care of and provide good work for, to help kind of move that vision and that mission forward. And for the type of positions that we have, whether it's a driver, we have a lot of turnover with that. And so trying to really reevaluate that, like how do we find the right person who's going to come in, do the job, but also stick around for a while. So right now, been able to put together a management team where we have an operations manager and also going to have a marketing manager. And those are kind of like two key functions that we're seeing as important. So that's a new big step for our small company, but I think it's going to really create a much better foundation in terms of taking some of that responsibility off my shoulders, where I can focus on other parts of the business, but then also hopefully create a better working environment for everyone, creating better pay, creating better benefits. So really, in terms of the people that I've brought on, a lot of times it's not so much for the specific skills, but just the people who show up, the people that have the interest and interested in the mission of what we're doing. And I've heard other people say this before, skills can be taught, but you need someone who's just interested and passionate and wants to be here. So that's kind of the direction I've been going with, and I think it's going to work out.
The question is, what have I learned about having employees? And one of them is to set standards, but don't set strong standards. So one of our rules is you can only work 4 days a week, not 5, because we always want you to be excited to come back. And trust me, a lot of people say, I'll just work, 4, 5, 6 days a week. And no, take the 3 days off, Another one is if you don't feel like coming to work, don't come to work, because what we're making is a product that has water in it and oils and medicinal herbs. And so if somebody is in the office that's making it or helping produce soap that's going to go on somebody else's skin for 30 days, then your attitude is 100% important. So if you're in a bad mood or a bad attitude, then just don't come to work. The crazy thing about that policy is nobody ever calls in sick. So I think just having the ability, and probably also having 3 days off, but the ability to know I'm responsible for myself, I can take a day off if I need to, it kind of keeps people healthy. It's interesting. So I've learned that along the way, and you know, people want to be managed the way they're used to being managed. So management has to be fluid. It can't be my rules are your rules. So that's all. It's just about being a person, and of course we learn every day about how to have a team. It's fluid, you know.
So far, so good. I deal with a lot of cash business. As far as I can tell, no one's severely like taken what they weren't supposed to, or stolen things, you know, like, hey, there's a bunch of product missing, where did that go? Nothing really has happened like that with my employees, so I've been very fortunate with that. I tend to, the first employee I ever had, I just put a help wanted sign in front of my booth. The lady next to, and then working at the next booth came over to me, and she was my first employee ever. And again, like I was speaking earlier about my market that I sell to is Japanese. So I like to have a lot of Japanese speakers. Without that, I cannot do what I do today. There's no way. So again, I found what my market was and how to sell to them. And what you need is you need a Japanese interpreter or Japanese speaker. I mean, I could sit there and try to sell all I want, but there's just always a language barrier there. I mean, I know a little Japanese, but there's just a language barrier. I tend to hire a lot of younger people, which have great energy. It's just great. It's just great. That being said, I also have a lot of older generation too, which they love selling the products and they believe in the products, which is great. You know, wholesome products, local products, all natural kind of things, and they just love it. I find that the people that are kind of in the middle, they're not like real young and they're not in the older generation. The people in the middle tended not to be the best workers. The reason for that is they kind of, they're still not sure what they want to do, and they may be trying out working for you and stuff, and then I have not had good experience with people kind of in the middle of the road, like, you know, like post-college for a few years, and then they're just really not sure what they're doing, and like, I mean, I'm not paying the craziest wages on earth right here, so it's just, yeah, people in the middle of the road, not my pick, but definitely Japanese speakers are amazing, gotta have them for what I'm doing. Also, younger generation, college kids, people in school, great workers. Just got to make sure they show up, but they're great workers. And then again, the older generation, which they love the products, they love the ideas, they love everything behind it, and they're great, absolutely love them. Basically, the way a lot of people that work for me come on board is that they're referrals. I've almost never had anyone work for me that was just total out of nowhere, besides maybe a couple in the beginning. I've never had anyone off Craigslist. I've never had anyone just a complete stranger. They're all like, oh, my friend can work, or oh, this guy's a great guy, or you got to talk to this man. Like, that's how pretty much every single, so, you know, obviously someone's speaking up for them, so hopefully they're good. They got to be good, you know, so I always give them a chance. So far so good. Pretty much everyone has worked out. There's been no major mishaps or like, why did I hire him kind of a deal. So referrals are huge. So your friend's standing up for you, so that makes me feel real good about hiring you. So yeah, referrals are great.
So I think the biggest lesson I learned with building a team and actually being a leader was not assuming people knew what you knew. So certain things that were common sense for me, I felt like I didn't need to explain it or have a procedure, because for me, I was like, well, obviously, duh. and I'm realizing, okay, people don't have my same skill sets. People need like a solid direction or steps. And I found myself getting frustrated with some of my team members because I was like, why didn't you do that right? And then I actually had to look at myself and be like, okay, well, I didn't communicate. That's exactly what I wanted. So taking a step back, looking at myself as a leader and trying to come up with steps and procedures for my team so they know exactly what I want.
How do you take care of your employees?
One of the things that I like to do to take care of my employees is I recognize that they're kind of helping me with my dream, and I know that they have their own dreams. So I let them work on the things that interest them. So Chris, our CTO, he's always wanted to create his own interactive website, so this is great practice for him. I give him creative freedom. I tell him the things we want, but I say, hey, like, do what you need to do, test out different things, have fun with it. Mary Bell, she wants to actually run a coffee shop, so she wants that managerial skills, so I have her in charge of the teachers. She loves talking to people, and I'm actually having my father be her mentor because he's had over 35 years of management in business. So she's kind of reporting to him, and he's giving her different tips and teaching her the things that she needs.